Hi, I'm Charity Atterbury, the Early Literacy Specialist for Bastrop ISD, and today I'm going to model for you a first grade skills lesson. It's Skills 5, Lesson 8. And I'm going to utilize our sound wall that we've created, and how it's organized is we have the consonants here on the left and then the vowels on the right. Okay, and also I'm going to do two portions of the skills lesson. I'm going to do the part where we introduce the spelling alternatives, and then when we get to the spelling tree. So it's about 30 minutes of the lesson. And before I begin though, I do want to say it's so important to read in the advanced preparation section, especially when you're introducing a new sound. So it's right here, notes to teacher, and some patterns you are to be aware of. So for example, the G and J spellings are used at the beginning of words and syllables, but generally not at the end. That's really important information for the students to have, but the way the curriculum is set up is this information is not included in the actual lesson plan itself, so you're going to have to figure out where can I plug this in the actual lesson. And I'll show you when I get to that part where I plugged that information in, okay? So let's go ahead and get started then. Okay, good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to read and write words that make the J sound. But before we do that, we're gonna actually practice pronouncing that sound so we do it correctly. I want you to look up here on our sound wall, and J, the J sound is right here. So as we're practicing saying this sound, I want you to look at this student's mouth. Notice the mouth is rounded and his teeth are together, okay? Also, it's a voiced sound, so the microphone here is on, okay? So you did such a great job coming to the carpet, and you have your mirrors next to you, so when we practice saying the sound, we correctly form our mouth. Now, to make the J sound, you're going to want to make sure that the tip of your tongue is on the roof of your mouth where you feel those little bumpies, okay? And the back of your tongue is going to be lifted up a little bit. Your mouth is going to be round, and you're just gonna push out some air. Also, remember it's a voice sound, so you should hear it here, okay? So I'm gonna show you first. J, J, and I can feel it right here. J, okay? Now get your mirrors out. Good job. Look in the mirror and make your mouth look like this boy's up here, and also like my mouth, okay? And we're gonna practice it. Okay, and then of course they're gonna get their mirrors out, they're gonna look at it, you're gonna go around, you're going to listen. More than likely, you're going to hear students say J, right? And so you're going to want to stop that. I would tell the whole group. Now, when I modeled for you, I said J, right? I hear a lot of you saying J, but when I say J, that sounds like two sounds. That sounds like you put a U at the end, which is that schwa, remember? We don't want to add that U at the end, because when we go to spell the word, we might end up putting a U, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so just explain to them the correct sound and why it's so important to say that sound correctly. Okay, so then, okay students, take your mirrors back, put them where they belong, and you're going to get 4 things out when you get back to your desk. You're going to get your code book, your whiteboard, and then I want you to get out your red marker, your red outlining marker, and then a marker in any other color of marker. Okay? So give them the expectations. If they go back to their seats, however you do that for your students, and remind them, remember we have 4 things that you need. You need your code book, your whiteboard, and your 2 markers. Great job, good job getting that stuff ready. And your eyeballs are up here, the caps are on your markers, and we are going to practice now spelling that J sound, okay? So remember, whenever they're in these virgules, that means that that's the sound. So the sound, what's our sound? J, that's right, good job. Okay, the first way that we spell the J sound is with the letter J. Now, you learned this spelling in kindergarten, okay? So the letter J, lots of times the spelling is at the beginning of the word, okay? Like in this word, jump. Do you hear the j sound at the beginning of the word jump? That's right. Jump is spelled J-U-M-P. So I'm just gonna tape that card right there, okay? Take a look at the power bar. So the spelling, when you use the J to spell the J sound, it's not quite half the time, okay? So it's used quite a bit, actually. The second spelling is going to be with the letter G. So sometimes when we hear words that have the J sound, you use the letter G to spell that sound, okay? Like in the word gem. Gem, say gem. Do you hear that J sound? Good job. So gem is spelled G-E-M. Okay. The third way we're going to practice spelling the J sound actually has two letters in it. Look at that. G and E. But do we hear that E sound at the end? No, we only hear one sound. We only hear J. Okay? So, but sometimes though in words, and they're always going to be at the end of words, you're going to spell the J sound with a G and E like fringe. Okay, time to get your markers out. Remember, this is a consonant, so we're going to use red, right? So you have your red markers, and while you're highlighting in your individual books, I'm going to highlight up here on our sound wall. So the first box I'm going to highlight is the letter J, because sometimes we use J to make the J sound. Good job outlining it. Yes, oh, good job. You had already turned to that correct page. Yes, go around making sure that they're highlighting the correct words. The second word that we talked about was gem. And boys and girls, I didn't even talk about the power bar for gem. I can't believe you didn't catch me. So if you notice, that power bar is even longer than the jump power bar. So actually, when we use the letter G to spell the J sound, we use it more often than the letter J. And then GE is not nearly as often, is it? That power bar isn't as long. Okay, so you outline it, make sure the students outline it, and then remind them why they have that code book. It's for when they go back and have to spell those words and the words that make that sound, they can always go back and reference it. Okay? All right, you did such a great job. I want you to put your consonant code books away and your red marker, cap it, and I want you to put that away. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to practice writing words that have the J sound. So you're going to do it as well. I want you to get your whiteboard out, and just like we always do when we practice writing our words, we're going to separate the different spellings. Okay, so you just easy peasy draw two lines because we're going to write three different types of words. Okay? So when I told you earlier about how you have to incorporate it into your lesson, I decided to do it here. There's different ways that you can do it, but I would tell the students some of the rules. So if you look up here, boys and girls, we're going to start, our first column is going to be spelling the J sound with the letter J. So make sure you mark it with the J, okay? Now, something to remember is the spelling is used at the beginning of words and syllables, okay? It's not used at the end, the beginning. And when we spell words at the beginning with the J sound, we're actually going to use the letter J more than we do the letter G, okay? All right, so our first word is going to be jump, just like we practiced up here. Jump, okay? The J sound is at the beginning. We're going to use the letter J. So you're going to write it too. J-U-M-P. And depending on your class, you may have to go slower. You may have to sound out individual phonemes, but just making sure that they're spelling those words as you're going around and monitoring, making sure that if they're writing the word jump, it's under the J. And then you can do another word. Okay, the next word that we're going to write is jar. So J sound is at the beginning, So we're going to put it under the J, and we're going to write jar. R. The two letters that make the R sound are A and R. Jar, J-A-R, okay? All right, and then you tell them, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to the next spelling of the J sound, which is G. Now when we use a G to write words, at the beginning, it's mainly used with these different spellings, either G-I, G-E, or G-Y. So one word that we're going to write is gel, like the gel that you would put in your hair. So, what makes the S sound? Good, and E. Is E one of our letters up here? Yes, that's right, because if you use a G, you're gonna spell an I, E, or Y for the vowel. So gel, like hair gel, okay? Now we're going to write a word where our vowel is going to be Y, and it's going to make the I sound, like in the word gym, okay? So gym is actually spelled G-Y-M, not G-I-M, okay? And then you just write however many words you want to practice writing, making sure again that the students are spelling them correctly, they're writing them, they're using the correct letters. And then the last spelling, remember, is G-E. Now with G-E, remember that we learned it's used at the end of words, like in the word large. Large. We don't hear that E, do we? And large is spell it with me, large. G, and don't forget the E to finish spelling that word. Okay. Another word I'm going to write is fringe. You hear the J at the end? So we're going to use G-E to spell that. Right up for vowel I, good job, and then the G and the E. So then they'll have practice writing those words. And also I would take these posters and put them up somewhere in your room. That way students have this reference for them and it doesn't just go away. They're going to need that to help practice and practice correctly. I know space is a thing, but it's important to make sure students can access it. So one way to kind of help with that is just put the patterns that you're learning. So keep your older posters in the back and then put your newer ones up if you need to. Then of course you can go through and as they need different practice, you can pull and swap out the different posters, okay? All right, so now we're gonna go to the spelling tree. So what I did is I just used a poster board and just wrote it like the traditional spelling tree like they have in Amplify. There's several ways that you can do this. You could write the words on there, you could use sticky notes. I just went ahead and used the leaves that Amplify provides. And what I'm going to do is I am going to directly teach and show them that when we organize words, the only words that are going to be on this tree are going to be words that include the J sound. And I'm going to talk, I'll start with the word join. So the first leaf I'm going to put on is the word join, okay? Oh, before I do that, again, you want to remind them that the spellings that are the most common are going to be your longer branches, spelling, and then so on and so forth, and then your odd ducks are going to be your shortest branch. So join, so the J is at the beginning of the word. And so I spell the word join, J-O-I-N. So I'm going to put it on the branch with J because that's how I spell the J sound. The next word that I'm going to put up is germs. I hear the J at the beginning and I spell germs with a G, G-E-R-M-S. So I'm going to put it on this branch. Okay. The last word I'll put up is charge. So we know this spelling pattern, it's going to be at the end of the word, right? Charge, that's right. Charge is spelled C-H-A-R-G-E. So So I'm going to put it on this branch. Again, show them that's a graphic organizer. I'm going to keep this up so you can practice spelling these words with the J sound. Put it right over here, and then you can reference this page too when you need to look for those words that have that sound. So then there's a variety of ways that you can do the rest of the spelling tree portion. You may have words, and I even made more words than what Amplify suggested. Pass these around, you know, the different spellings, maybe pass in partners, and then, you know, the kids practice reading them, and then you can say, okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to put your leaves on our tree, and, you know, do it pretty quickly. So if your AD partner has a spelling of the J sound that has a G in it, I want partner B to quickly get in a line right here, and you're gonna come up, you're gonna show your leaf, and you're gonna read it to the class, and you're gonna put it on the correct branch, or however it is that you wanna do that part of it. Then I really liked in the lesson plan the challenge part. So if you have time, and if your kids are capable of doing it, you have the students generate additional words with the J sound. Have them write on a whiteboard, have them write on leaves, that kind of thing. One thing I did want to point out was, if they do come up with an odd duck word, now this spelling is bridge, D-G-E. It's a word, of course, it's a word, or that's a spelling pattern for the J sound, like over here in judge, or bridge, but they're not going to learn that until 2nd grade. And so if they do give that word to you, though, you do want to acknowledge it and celebrate it, and then you would put it on yellow. Because in 1st grade, it would be an odd duck. So, all righty.